Day 26. Radical love, love that defies logic. To return evil for good is devilish. To return good for good is human. To return good for evil is divine. English theologian Alfred Plummer. Have you seen the movie Unbroken? It's the true story of Louis Zamperini. He was an Olympic distance runner before he was taken as a prisoner of war in World War II. He was starved, beaten, and brutalized, especially by a guard named Matsuhiro Watanabe, nicknamed the Bird. After the war, Mr. Zamperini's life was haunted by nightmares of his pain and suffering that made him hate with vengeance. But then, in a confrontation with God at a Billy Graham crusade, everything changed. He went back to Japan, not looking for his abusers to confront them, but to forgive them. He even wrote a letter to Mr. Watanabe, and in it he writes, "I committed my life to Christ, and my hate was replaced by love for you. For Christ even said, 'Forgive your enemies and pray for them.' I forgave you, and now I hope that you also would become a Christian." That is radical love that transformed trauma into triumph. In 2 Samuel 9, we read of such radical love. King Saul attempted to kill David many times. But when David became king, he asked something that may seem ridiculous, but is certainly radical. He asks, "Is there anyone in the house of Saul, his enemy, to whom I can show kindness?" He finds out about Mephibosheth, the crippled grandson of Saul, whom he invites to the king's table to eat with him for the rest of his life, showing kindness and grace to his enemy's kin. Jesus taught about such radical love. He in fact flipped the cultural narrative. For he said, "You've heard it said, 'Love your neighbors and hate your enemy.' But I say unto you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you." Jesus not only taught about radical love, but he is the ultimate embodiment of radical love. When he was crucified on the cross for your sin and mine in our place, he looked at his persecutors, those who nailed him to the cross. In that intense suffering and in that trauma and intense agony, he asked his Father to forgive them. See, when logic wants you to strike with the hammer of hate, radical love holds that hammer back. It keeps us unbroken in a broken world. Do we love like Jesus loved? Radically, with radical love that defies logic.